Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I'm really excited to do this video. I posted a video earlier about giving away this mini die cutting machine, and I've left that giveaway open for a longer period of time, so I'm going to mention it again. I will be giving away this exact machine, not a brand new one, but my used one. It's very gently used, so I'll tell you a little bit more about that when I talk about this machine. But I do want to give this away to somebody who is new to crafting or who doesn't already have a die cutting machine and would like to maybe get into paper crafting or into die cutting. So I'm just going to mention the giveaway straight off the top. I'll mention it again later, but I know if you're going to head on over to enter for a chance to win, you probably will have already expanded that description box to find the link. I would just like to request, there's no way I can tell, but I would like to request that if you already have a die cutting machine that you love, that you use, that is not giving you any problems at all, please don't enter just for the sake of winning something for free. The reason why I'm giving this machine away is because, as you can tell, I already have a lot of die cutting machines and it is just going to sit unused in my craft room. I don't want to go to the expense of mailing this, which will cost probably more than what you can buy a new one for free now. And so I don't want to go to the expense of shipping this to somebody if it's just going to go unused in your craft room. So please only enter if you will actually use this and use it as like a primary die cutting machine. Like I said, if it was just going to sit around and be like a secondary machine or a backup machine, it may as well just sit around in my craft room. This is a nice die cutting machine, so I want to see it used and I would like to give it away to somebody who doesn't already have one. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to clear off my desk and I'm going to talk about all of the die cutting machines that I have. And I'm not going to actually be able to bring all of them on camera, but I do have the plates for all of them, of course, so I can at least have their plates on screen as I talk about them. And I will try to put up an overlay so that as I talk about each of these, you can see the price and the size and how it compares to how each of them compare to one another. So we're going to start off with this. It's a bit of a relic. This is Spellbinders used to have a mini die cutting machine. This has since been replaced more recently by the Scout, but they used to have the Prism, and that's actually what I have here. It's super cute. You can see I used it lots. The plates are kind of small. Let's measure these as we go. So the plate is actually the plate is just shy of, it's like 2 5/8. Let's measure, are these all, I think these are all meant to be about the same. So 6 1/4 by 2 5/8. You can't even get this anymore. I just want to bring it up because it's a bit of a relic, but you can kind of see even the thick plate here started to crack on me. Because I did use it a lot. I mean, these mini machines are kind of convenient just for like quick die cutting. So, so that's just for fun. You cannot get this anymore. As I mentioned, the new mini die cutting machine from Spellbinders, I do not have that, but it's the Scout. And the Scout is actually, as a mini machine goes, it's actually got a larger plate than some of the other mini machines, and it is actually 3.5 wide by 9 inches. But since we're talking since we're talking Spellbinders machines, let's bring on some of the Spellbinders machines in their other sizes. So I have the Platinum, but I have the Fun Stampers Journey Platinum. It's older than the new and improved Platinum that has just come out, but that's why my plate is orange. So I used to use that actually as my primary machine. Their large platform is actually a really nice size. It is 8.5 wide by 12.25 long. So that's the large, what is normally called like an A4 platform. So now this, which was their original, is closer to 8.5. So oh, that is the same as now also. So 8.5 by 12.25. So it is the same, the new and the old. So that's their large size machine. Now, I don't have the Spellbinders 6-inch machine, but I do have the universal plates for the 6-inch machine because I am a Spellbinders influencer, and so I wanted to use, their new plate combination when I'm using their dies and embossing folders to get the absolute sort of best combination. And so I do have the plates even if I don't have the machine, but they do sell a 6-inch machine, and the size of that plate is 6.25 by 10.625, so just shy of 10.75. And so with both of the Platinum machines, you have a variety of like plate combinations that you kind of need to order just so, depending on what it is you're trying to do. So if you're trying to die cut, there's a very specific plate combination that you need to use. And if you're embossing with a die, there's a plate combination. And then if you are doing dry embossing, like with an embossing folder, there's yet another plate combination. And there's two different ones, one for like a standard embossing folder and then one for a 3D embossing folder. So the Platinum machine relies on, with every die cutting machine, the basically what's happening is there's a gap, and you pass some combination of plates and your material that you want to either cut or emboss, and then the tool that actually does the cutting or embossing, and you pass all of that through this opening in the machine. What allows it to have like different effects is how much pressure is exerted on that combination of things. You would stack it all up and then pass this through the machine. And so in order to get the right amount of pressure to achieve, die cutting, embossing, etc., it needs to have the right amount of pressure. And to get the right amount of pressure, it sort of depends on how thick of this stack gets passed through. And so you can see each of these plates is a different color, just so that it's easy for you to kind of identify them and pick them out of a crowd, so to speak. But they are different thicknesses, and that's actually what is governing how much pressure is getting exerted on your materials and on your tools, the dies, the embossing folders, and the papers. So how thick your paper is plays a role. How what brand die and what brand embossing folder will play a role, because they're not all the same. And so clearly, if you're using everything Spellbinders, they've tested everything against their machine to be super compatible. So if you're using any Spellbinders products, then you can go buy their plate combination and it should be spot on and give you consistent good results. But keep in mind, over time, the older your machine is, the looser, the internals might be. And so over time, you might find that you need to add a cardstock shim or two in order to achieve the same results. And that's the case with most all die cutting machines. So that's nothing specific to just the Spellbinders machines, but I'm mentioning it first just to put it out there up front, but just know that a lot of that applies to all machines. So the Spellbinders machines, I'm also going to put prices up online, up on the screen for you too. But I just also maybe want to show you what it looks like on their website and the current pricing as I sit here today. So with the we're on the Spellbinders website here, and one of the nice things about their machines is lately they've got some really fun colors and some different designs. And so if one of those intrigues you, you can actually shop on different retailers who sell Spellbinders products, and they might have some exclusive colors that are not available at Spellbinders directly. So here you can see the Scout. This is again a 3.5-inch plate by 9 inches. So it's rather long for a mini die cutting machine, but I think that is intentional so that you can use your slimline dies. And that's brilliant because a lot of the mini die cutting machines, you don't have that option out of the gates. And I'll talk about one where you can get some extended plates a little bit later. But you can kind of see and get a sense for the prices. So here's the new and improved Platinum 6-inch. It's $160 at the time that I'm recording this, and the new and improved 8.5-inch by 12.25 is $250. So almost $100 difference there. And then our little Scout machine is $75. Now, if you want a fancy design, it's a little bit more. It's $80. So those are the machines, and that's just the machines. Doesn't look like those have they might have some starter dies, I'm not sure, but these don't seem to be like starter package bundles. So that's sort of the base price. You might be able to find them with other little craft goodies on other sites as a bundle. So just shop around. Here's that long plate for you if you want to get a look at the this is for the Scout. You can see how long that is, but the Scout appears to be the same in the sense that it does have a variety of plates, just as I showed earlier for the 6-inch. So it seems to work on the same premise of just finding the right stack, finding the right plate combination. And one of the things that's nice with that in particular is that basically the Scout, the Platinum of both sizes, if you have come to recognize your Spellbinders plate combinations and you kind of know what to reach for, it's going to all be the same. So I like that. I don't have the Scout, so I can't speak to this, but my guess, considering it's all the same plate system, is that the internals of the die cutting machine itself are going to be the same or similar. And that means that you're going to get the same or similar die cutting pressure and abilities as a large size machine. And you can look at it side by side. It's just like a little mini me of your platform, or Platinum. So really love that. And as I mentioned, for a long while, this one, the large one, the large Platinum, was my main die cutting machine. These are all manual machines though, and so you do have to manually crank a wheel, so to speak, or lever, I guess, to actually die cut. So those are the Spellbinders machines. Let me get, I can't bring it on screen, but I will bring up the Gemini plates. At the moment, if I need to die cut something large, my large platform, basically my A4 Gemini, is my main go-to. And the reason for that is because it is an electronic die cutting machine, and it is really nice. So if you do a lot of die cutting, you might want to consider getting an electronic die cutting machine because it's going to be friendlier on your body. You're not going to have a lot of that repetitive motion. And what I mean by that is manual die cutting machines are very similar to this. There's an opening where you pass your plate combination through. Inside here, there's a set of rollers. This metal bit in here, there's one on the top and there's one on the bottom. And when you rotate this, it actually rotates those rollers, and that's what feeds the plates through. So all manual die cutting machines operate that way. Electronic die cutting machines have the rollers as well, but they're electronic, and so you can just push a button and have it pass through automatically. With the Gemini, one of the things that's nice is that you don't actually, once you turn it on, you don't actually have to push a button to start running the motor. It has a sensor. And so as soon as something goes into the opening, if it's the original Gemini, it needs to be the correct width. It needs to fill the whole opening. And my understanding is with the Gemini 2, that's no longer the case. If anything passes through, it trips the sensor, and the machine will grab your plates and start rolling it through. It's really, really nice. It saves your body, it saves your arm, shoulder, etc. If you do a lot of die cutting and you're going to stick with this hobby long term, it might be really nice. Or if you do anything kind of en masse, even if you don't necessarily need to die cut something as large as what this plate allows you to do, you still might want to get the large machine if you like make to sell, or you just make a lot of the same design or similar designs, because you can put a lot of multiple different dies on here. So that's really nice. Now, the Gemini machines have a lot of pressure. They are known for their plates warping, and you can find a lot of videos online about how to flatten out your plates again. You can get a lot of tips and tricks. You can get, there's lots of third-party companies that put out replacement plates that are a little bit more economical and budget-friendly. And I've actually reviewed a set of alternative plates, which I really like. And so there's a lot of, places to get replacements for the Gemini plates if you're finding that they're warping a lot and you can't recover it. You can tell this has warped, and it's not even the plate that I cut into. This is the top plate, and even this has warped. So the Gemini machine, they have a Pro machine. I don't know if they still sell it, but it's huge. It's got a 12-inch wide opening, and the plate is actually 12 by 12. And that is truly meant for if you do this, for a job, to sell your cards, etc. That is targeted for professionals. So that is 12 by 12. This plate here is 9 by 12 and a quarter. And I don't have the 6-inch, machine, but I do have the 6-inch, the Gemini Junior plate combination, because sometimes it's a little bit more convenient to pass 6 inches through because it'll be done faster. So this can actually fit through the same opening as your A4 machine. So the large machine, recall, was 9 inches wide by 12 and a quarter. The Gemini Junior is 6 inches wide by 9. Because they both share a 9-inch wide length, this plate can go through your electronic, the Gemini original. You would just pass it in this way, and then it's done in essentially half the time, because it doesn't have to, go through the rest of the the length. So if I'm just die cutting something a little bit small or something like that, then I used to just use my smaller plates, and then it would be done faster. And I just want to also show this. This is the brand Craft First. You can get this brand of plates as replacements for any of the different plates in the Gemini stack. And there are a variety of different, I don't even have them all on screen here, but there's a variety of different plates. Just as I mentioned, similar to Spellbinders. It's nothing unusual or different, but just depending on what you are trying to cut or do, like if you're embossing, dry embossing, embossing with a die, etc., you're gonna have to find, you know, what they recommend for plate combinations, stack that up, and pass it through. So so that is, so you can kind of see this is straight. This is curved. The plastic plate is curved. So that's just the standard machines. Both of those you can would be electronic. So Gemini Original and Gemini 2 and the Gemini Junior, these are electronic die cutting machines. Really great. And Gemini also does a mini machine. So the mini machine is actually pretty cute. Here's a new set of plates. So this is 3 inches wide by 6 inches. And it's got a different system, so to speak, which makes it a little bit easier to use. So I like that. So I say plates, but they call them plastic shims, and it's basically a plastic folder. Look at how much, I mean, I used to use this a lot, as you can see. It's curved a lot, as you can see, despite the fact that you can, and I was actually, I'm actually rather impressed because you're meant to die cut, you know, cut on this edge, cut on that edge, right? But then you're told flip that around and cut on this edge and cut on that edge. So each of these 2 sides of the folder, you're supposed to cut on both sides. So four cutting sides, and it's meant to help keep it straight. But much as I tried to flip and give it all, you know, equal cuts into it, I really just was not able to keep this straight for any period of time, really. However, in spite of that, I have never really felt the need to get a new set of folders out, because this will still cut just fine. This die cuts really well. It's very surprising because this looks like it's just like an embossing folder, you know what I mean? It's just plastic, and I actually thought for sure the hinge here would break at some point. It you can kind of see how much I've cut into both of these. And, you know, I tried really hard. I tried to cut all the way to the edges, like really, because the thing is, when you cut into it, you're making little cuts, and then it tends to weaken the plastic, and then as it's going through the machine, which is exerting pressure on it, that's what's adding to that curvature. But if you're cutting kind of equally onto both sides, it's supposed to just all even out in the end. That hasn't really happened, but that being said, it also hasn't really affected the performance. It works just fine, and that hinge has held up. Like, and I thought for sure, because you're flipping it back and forth, I thought for sure that would be the first point of failure, and it hasn't been. It's really good. Now, this does have 4 little suction cups at the bottom to help to hold it onto your work surface. It's pretty good. It's not the best, but it works fairly decently. So you just have to push it down, that's all. And you can see it's lifting the plate. And it's fairly compact because it doesn't have like a platform here that folds out. this just goes in, and you just crank this and it will go through. So this is a manual machine, a little mini manual machine, pretty easy to use, pretty compact, and I got a lot of use out of it. These mini machines, they're good because most dies can really fit through this, and then it's like kind of no time at all to manually pass, you know, something that's just 6 inches long through a die cutting machine, rather than something that's 9 inches or something that's 12 inches. So that's the Gemini line of die cutting machines, and I kind of want to show, again, giving you a little bit of an idea for pricing. Here it is on, right now I'm on scrapbook.com because I actually couldn't find the listing for these machines on the Crafter's Companion website, surprisingly. So I don't think they sell the original anymore. So the Gemini 2 is what you can find, and it's that's what it's retailing for right now. And this is the large size. So the large size is 9 inches wide by 12 1/4. They do still have the Pro. So this is what the original machine looked like. It had much more like curved profile to it, where the new one, the Gemini 2, is a little bit more boxy. But here you can see the Pro. This was 12 by 12. There's the little mini. You can emboss with it. It does have like this purple shim for embossing. And so you can see the price on that. I don't think the 6-inch machine is on here. This is the large machine. Yeah, I don't see the 6-inch machine. So those are the options that I can find on the scrapbook.com website, but the Gemini machines, they retail at various different shops. Even on Amazon you could find it, so you might be able to shop around and find them at other retailers. So that's a look at the Gemini machines. I want to talk a little bit about the Sizzix machines. Now, I don't actually have any Sizzix machines, so I cannot tell you performance-wise how I think they perform. But what I can show you is I'll bring it up on screen so that you can see the different options that you can get. And what I want to show is, or what I can show, is that I do have the Sidekick cutting plate. And why do I have the Sidekick cutting plate? Well, I have it because sometimes I like to do partial die cutting, and a lot of times it was easier to do partial die cutting. This was back in the day when I actually used my Cuttlebug, my 6-inch Cuttlebug, which that's quite a throwback. I didn't even bring my Cuttlebug out. But that would be another option of machines. But the nice thing with the having small plates like this, especially for machines that use like a certain plate combination, is it's a little easier if you're doing partial die cutting to just put a small plate over the portion that you want to cut. So I wanted to bring this out though, just to show you a little side-by-side comparison, and I'll talk about some of the other machines that I don't haven't yet covered. But since this is all I have to show of the Sizzix line, I'll talk about the others, but I thought I would just show you a comparison. So this is kind of old school. This is the old Spellbinders Prism, which you can't get anymore. This is the Sidekick. This is the Gemini Mini, and This is another machine I'll talk about in a moment. I guess this one fits there. So this is the Creative Craft Products machine. So that's sort of how these all compare. And then this last one is the Anna Griffin. Let's put this plate. So that's the Anna Griffin. So quite a range. If you look at these, the Scout would be roughly a little bit wider than this. The Scout, if we're talking just the width of it, it would land here. It's wider than the Mini because the Scout is actually 3.5 inches and the Mini is only 3. And but it's long. It's 9 inches. The Scout is 9 inches long. But if it were in this lineup, it would sit right around here. So you can see the Sidekick is the small. It's really mini. It's very, very mini. The Sidekick is only 2.5 by 4.5. And all of these are manual mini die cutting machines, and the Anna Griffin one is an electronic one. So more on that later. But I wanted to just give this lineup because this is the only thing I have to show you. But what I can do is I can show you the Sizzix website, and they have quite a wide range of die cutting machines that also includes an electronic die cutting machine. So if you've been keeping up, Spellbinders does not have an electronic machine. The Gemini is mostly electronic. The only manual machine is their Mini. And so now we're at the Sizzix machines. They have the Switch, which is the Switch Plus, which is 9 inches by 12. So that's the plate size. And this is an electronic machine. And you can also get, I want to do like apples to apples as much as possible. So these are just the machines without, starter bundles. So here's the Switch Plus again, this time in black. And then this is the Big Shot Standard, which is 6 1/8 by 8 3/4. 6 1/8 by 8 3/4. So that's your Big Shot. And then we have the Big Shot Plus. And just like the Switch Plus, it has a 9-inch wide opening and the plate is 12 inches long. So those are the various different sizes for their kind of their large machine. And of course, you've got the Sidekick, which is 2.5 by 4.5. So, and it looks like the Sidekick always comes with some starter goodies. I don't think there's a listing with just the machine by itself, but it does have, there's a couple different bundles you can get. So you can get this one, which is Desert Flower, which is a different color and it has different freebies. And then you can get the Tim Holtz one, which is black and has his line of dies as freebies to go with it. So lots and lots of different options for you there. And then this one I didn't even list, but I don't know if they're still selling it, but this is their Pro, which is really their super big one essentially. And the plates are 12 inches wide. I don't know how long they are. I'm guessing it's also 12 by 12. But this is kind of similar to the Gemini Pro that I mentioned earlier that's 12 inches wide. So you can there's a lot of different SKUs on that one. So possible that if you're a teacher and you do a lot of die cutting for your class and whatnot, I think that's who these machines are targeted to. So that's the Sizzix line, and there's it works kind of similar except that there's just the 2 cutting plates that you need and all of the various different adapters to like get the right pressure is based off of the base here, and you would just flip these panels to include or not include them in order to have the correct amount of pressure and to have the correct combination to go through. But otherwise, their cutting plates come in pairs like this, and of course, there might be a different like squishy mat and whatnot for other effects. But yeah, that's the Sizzix system. So Sizzix is nice. They do have an electronic and but mostly their line of dies is manual machine, or die cutting machines are manual, but there is an electronic option, and that's the switch. So really great different options for you there. So we've covered Spellbinders, we've covered Crafter's Companion Gemini, we've covered the Sizzix. The other machines that I have that I use is, let me bring, and I think if you watch my videos, you know that I actually do use this. This is the Beercraft die cutting machine, and I've talked about this before on my channel, and so I won't go super in depth about this, but I always talk about this when I'm doing this sort of product roundup video. I know that this machine looks very similar to other machines on the market, and there's good reason for that. It's probably a white labeled machine. And white labeling is legitimate. No one has stolen anything from anybody, if indeed that's the case. But white labeling is just a business-to-business practice of a company that manufactures a product and they don't care to put their brand on it. What they do, their customers are other companies who would like to have that product in their lineup. And so they welcome other companies to put their own brand on their product. So who actually manufactures this, I have no idea. But I have seen similar products to this under multiple different brands. And I don't think anyone is doing anything wrong. So that's just how it is. And with this machine in particular, I think that's the case. The machines that I've talked about up to now, the Spellbinders Platinum, the Crafter's Companion Gemini, the Sizzix Big Shot, I believe, and I don't know this for a fact, so if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I believe that those are probably manufactured, by them. Those machines aren't white labeled, from another source. This machine I've seen under a lot of different labels, and that is why I speculate. I'm only speculating. I'm not trying to pass this on as fact. I'm only speculating that this is a white labeled machine. So it is from Beercraft, and I use it a lot. I like it a lot. I don't use it for die cutting. What I actually use it for is my better pressing and, to be honest, my foiling with the glimmer. But I did do a product review on this. It die cuts really nicely. The plate combination is really simple, and the reason that it is so simple is this one operates differently to all of the other machines I've talked about so far. This machine, at the core of the die cutting machine, it's the same premise in that there is an opening, which if you flatten this out, if you open this on both sides, it will create an opening. This opens up too, but for now, just demonstrate it this way. The opening's the same. You can see there's metal roller on the top and a metal roller on the bottom. And so the crux, the mechanics of the machine, pretty much the same, similar to any other manual or electronic die cutting machine in that way. However, to achieve the right pressure, there's actually 2 dials on the side. There's one dial at the top that is meant to kind of get you in the ballpark, depending on if you're die cutting, letter pressing, or embossing like a 3D folder. And then there's a fine tune dial at the bottom so that you can make adjustments if you need, depending on, as I mentioned, if you're using thicker or thinner cardstock, if you're using different brand dies and whatnot. I actually have a pretty comprehensive video where I actually measured the thickness of different plate combinations when I was using different brand products, different brand dies and whatnot. And I actually gave, the settings that I use. And that might be different for you, even if you have the same machine, just because, like I mentioned, over time, the internal rollers might, move around a little bit. And the nice thing about this is that instead of having to remember a variety of different plate combinations and having to store a variety of different plates, you just use the dials. The top dial to get you kind of in the ballpark of what it is you're doing, and then the bottom dial to make fine-tune adjustments if you need a little bit more pressure or a little bit less pressure. You can use the 2 dials to make those adjustments. Beercraft has a small machine and a large machine. This is their 6-inch machine. And let me show you where you can get that. It's available on Amazon. So this is their 9-inch machine. And so their 9-inch is 9 by 13. And that's actually longer than any of the other machines that we've talked about so far. Most of the other large platform machines are about 12 and a half or so, 12 and a quarter, 12 and a half. So this is longer, 9 by 13. And if you are looking at getting the 6-inch machine, which is, this one that I have that I was showing, it is here, just the machine by itself without like starter goodies, just the machine. And the plate here is 6 by 9. Kind of standard. That's the same as your Gemini, pretty similar to Spellbinders. Spellbinders is slightly larger. The Spellbinders one is 6 and a quarter by 10.625. So that's how this one compares size-wise. The Sizzix machine is 6 and 1/8 by 8 and 3/4. So everything is about in the ballpark, the same size. And so you'll see those machines there. And let's see if I can find it. I thought it was here. Did I miss it? Because there's a mini machine that they have as well. And I thought I saw it in the search results. So they also, I'll bring it up. Let me do a quick search, see if I can find it. Beercraft, we'll say mini die cutting machine, because they do have a small one as well. And I don't see it. Okay, well, I can't find it at the moment. But I wanted to bring it up because it actually looks a lot like this, which is the one that I'm going to show you in a little bit. But I wanted to see if I could find it on Amazon in order to show you the price difference. But here I'm on the Craft Stash website. And so there's Craft Stash. And so the what I wanted to show was, if you look here, and this is why I'm speculating, pure speculation, folks, but this machine is very similar looking to what I just showed you, that is labeled as beer craft, but this one is labeled creative craft products and is being sold on Craft Stash. So note that price. And I'm gonna flip back to Amazon, and so you can note the price here. This is just for the machine, no bundled extra goodies with it. So so there's that for comparison, and I know many people will also recognize this as this machine. And as I mentioned, I don't think anyone's doing anything wrong or shady, but if you want the pure facts of things, at the time that I'm recording this, Beercraft had their machine out and even a video on their YouTube channel 5 to 6 years ago. We all know that this one came out maybe a couple years ago, and then Creative Craft Products just came out with theirs maybe a year or less ago at the time that I'm recording. So so this is just to say, folks, that some of the machines that you see on the market from your favorite brands, you know, they actually might look familiar to other products. Sometimes that is another company that is, you know, stealing, you know, somebody's intellectual property, copyright, trademark, etc., patent, whatever. Sometimes it's legitimate. And I know we can't know always for sure, but I'm again just speculating, but I kind of feel like I've seen this style of machine. It looks so identical in so many ways that I am going to speculate that it's white labeled. And part of that really makes a lot of sense to me because, you know, if a company primarily focuses on stamps and dies, they want to try to have like a comprehensive offering in their store so that you can get all the things from their store. And so it makes sense for a stamp die company to want to be able to offer things like a stamping platform, a die cutting machine, but does it really make sense for them to do the manufacturing research and production research to manufacture their very own custom one? You know, maybe not. But it sure would make a lot of sense to me to just go to a company that manufactures it as part of their main product line, and then they don't have to do all of that research and development to produce and manufacture their own when they know there's already a good one on the market. And so, you know, I just want to share with you that you have some options here. And while we are on the Craft Stash website, here's the mini one. And this is the one that I would like to give away. It's on sale for a really great price. So to be honest, this is a good price if you're looking for a backup machine. I don't think you could go wrong if you wanted to just pick this up for yourself and take advantage of this sale. But if you're watching this and the sale is no longer available, you can see the full prices here crossed out. And also you can see what they're willing to sell it at, which, you know, if you're not in a rush, maybe you just wait for it to go on sale again. But this is what the machine looks like. And it is small, it's compact. The plates are 3 inches wide by 6 inches, and it die cuts really well. The plate combination is super pretty easy for die cutting. It's really just 2 plates, and it's really nice. I like it a lot. I haven't used it a ton. I was given this machine by Craft Stash to do a product review. So if you want to see my thoughts on it, you can see my first look video, and you can see my more recent video where I first announced this giveaway. And so you can check those out to get my thoughts on it. But I just want to show you the plates and the condition that the plates are in. It's not super well, it's not super like cut into a lot, but you can see I've done a fair bit of testing on it, and I did a lot of die cutting to do the swatches and that my Spellbinder swatches, and it worked just great. No moving parts on this in terms of this little platform here. This does not fold up. It does have this nice big suction rubber at the bottom, or silicone at the bottom, and you just have there's a locking mechanism here. And so let me get a plate here so I'll show you. So you lock this, and then actually this plate is curved, so it might not actually work very well. What was I using before? I think I was using this Gemini plate. So you put this on here, and it has a nice suction. It's actually a very strong suction, but it's meant to go on a nice flat surface, so it works best then. So that locks it so that you can it's very secure on my tabletop now. And so when I go to run, a set of plates through, let's see, I don't have to hold this down. I can just use one hand to manually roll this through. So that's really nice. And then these, as with any others, you can always, if you're left-handed, you can always switch this to the lever here to be on the left side, because this rotates back and forward. You can rotate in whatever direction. And I would, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, I would, for any manual die cutting machine, switch back and forth, just so that you're using your left hand, you're using your right hand arm, and that way, because manual die cutting can have a little bit of fatigue on your body, you're kind of spreading out, that fatigue, that wear and tear on your own body. And I mean, that's the big thing with manual die cutting machines. If you're doing a lot of die cutting, over time, it can, develop maybe some physical issues, but you can slow that down. You can possibly prevent that from just pacing yourself, not doing a lot of die cutting at the same, sitting, but also switch, from your left arm to your right arm, because the motion to do this is pretty easy. So it doesn't require like a lot of precision. So you can use your non-dominant arm, and you're gonna do just fine rotating your plates through. And so we would definitely recommend that if you're using any manual die cutting machine. So this is the machine that I would like to give away, and I would like that if you enter, and I can only ask, I can't really verify, so I can only ask that if you do enter that please only enter if you don't already have a die cutting machine, and or maybe the one you have you're not happy with. And the reason why I'm requesting that is because I would really like this to go to somebody who is going to actually put it to use. It's going to cost me a lot to send it, and this is only going to be US continental for that reason. But it actually might cost me like as much as it costs to buy this for free or from Craft Stash right now. So if I'm gonna spend the money to ship it to somebody, I would like for it to actually be used. If it were just gonna sit around and be like a secondary backup machine, then I may as well just leave it in my own craft room, and it can be my backup. So that's the reason why I can only request it. I really honestly can't tell if you have one or not. But That's my ask. So please, if you are interested in winning this, only fill out that giveaway entry form if maybe you're new to paper crafting, card making, and you would like to get a die cutting machine, get into die cutting. If you have a friend who you would like to introduce to our awesome hobby, maybe point them to this video and they could win this. So let's get this into the hands of somebody who will actually put it to some good use. So I mentioned before the fact that I wanted to show you other brand machines that look a lot like this. When I did my first look video, a lot of people told me about this machine, which I didn't even know about, but it does look very similar. It does have very similar plates, and this one does come with some extra goodies. I like when they do starters that have like nested shape dies, because those are you're always going to use. But here you can see it at a different price point, but you can see the colors, the branding are different, but all kind of in the same spot, right? So if we wanted to compare that to how this one looks, you can kind of see the two spots of color and where the branding is. Well, let's look at this one. So the three spots of color, the handle, this thing here, and the lock, and then where the branding location is. So if you take note of that, it's pretty much the same here. So when a company, a manufacturer of a product does white labeling, they basically tell their customers, who are other companies that sell products, other retailers, here's your customization options. Tell us what colors you want. There's 3 different spots. We have a custom spot where you can put your logo, give us a graphic, and we'll put your logo there. And so, so that's kind of what I mean by white labeling. Do I know for sure that's what's happening in this case? No, I don't. But I can only guess, and they look very similar to me. So, so that's kind of all I can put out there. And then if you look on Amazon, I tried to find it before, but Beercraft, I believe, has a mini machine that looks very similar as well. So there's different options, and if in fact, like I said, I don't know for sure, but if in fact these are all the same, then it makes sense to kind of shop around and see what the different price points are, what comes included, what doesn't. The one on CraftStash, for example, is just the machine, so you're not going to get the extra goodies that you saw a moment ago with the evolution, the mini evolution. And so that might make a difference in terms of the pricing that you're seeing. So it kind of just depends on what, what you would like and what your, preference is for the brands that you want to support, what might ship to you faster, which companies might have better customer support, and which companies you feel might be around for longer, because if the plates need to ever be replaced, then you might want to make sure that you're buying from a brand that's going to have good customer support, be around for that, and be around for any consumables that you might also need to pick up. So that is the Creative Craft Product mini die cutting machine. Again, this one, I believe Beercraft also has, and I think if they are the same, then the size is 3 inches by 6, and the larger one, again, if the Beercraft one and the CraftStash one are the same, 6 by 9. CraftStash doesn't have the large platform, like the A4 platform, like Beercraft does have that size, but CraftStash doesn't. So there's that. And I think if you're looking at the Gina K one, that has like a different mini. They've gone with a different mini die cutting machine. So now time for the mini die cutting machine. I say mini, but really it's not that mini. This is a really nice size. So here is the machine that I probably use 90% of the time for my die cutting. It is the Anna Griffin Empress Mini. And this, while it has mini in the name, I really feel like this is in a class of its own for a lot of reasons, but primarily because the plates are a nice size. So the plate is 4.5 by 7.5. And the reason why this is in a class of its own is that this is an A2, oh, this is scored incorrectly. This is an A2 size card base. So you can see that, it fits perfectly on here, which means that you can use, and when you pass it through, lots of room there. And so what that means is that when you do like, techniques and cards and whatnot that you might want to cut like into an A2 size panel and do maybe an embossed panel that's edge to edge on an A2 card, you can fit that onto these plates and it's perfect. So I love it for that. I love that it's electronic so that I'm saving my body wear and tear. Has a cute little handle here. And it works really great. There's great pressure. Now, the only thing that I will say is that, and the plate combination is really simple too. It's basically these three things, but the magnetic mat is super, super strong, but over time, through use, it has elongated. It's now maybe beyond an eighth. I would say perhaps 3/16, maybe even. Is it 1/4 of an inch? It might even be 1/4 of an inch longer now. These three used to be the exact same. You can see it's flush on this side. These plates used to be the exact same length. And you can see now, just because this is softer than the plastic, see, it's softer than the plastic. So there's so much pressure in this machine that it's sort of like pasta, you roll your pasta through, it flattens it. And so this has flattened out, it's thinned out a little bit through use. And you can also see it's thinned out and warped on the side too. So you can see where the middle, maybe I've used the middle a lot more. It's kind of pushed out, on the sides more than on this end. This end still seems to be flush. So, and part of that just might be like how I feed this through, because this stack I always kind of feed through the same way and then I cut into the cutting plate. Now I know, and I've seen the comments and I agree with you that you can cut into the magnetic mat. You can see I've done that. A lot of people, and I know Jennifer McGuire does this. I know Anna Griffin herself has demonstrated and cut into the magnetic mat. But at the time that I bought mine, the instructions read to cut into one of your plastic plates, one of the two plastic plates. They are identical. And you cut die face up. And in general, if you want a cleaner cut and a stronger cut, if you cut with your die face up, you tend to get better cuts that way. But there's disadvantages to cutting that way as well, which is why it's nice to cut die down and cut into the magnetic mat. So you can do both, but what I most of the time do is cut into this, and you can see how much I've cut into it on both sides, and it's not warped hardly any, if at all. So that's why I really love, and the thing is, when I bought this machine, I just figured I'm gonna need replacement plates. That's just the nature of die cutting machines, is that these are consumables. You're just gonna need to replace them over time. And I still have this plate, which is the same A plate as the one I'm cutting into. That's original, came with the machine. And I have the extra set that I bought just for the day when I need to start replacing these. And I have not yet found the need to replace these. I bought this on a Black Friday sale 2 Black Fridays ago. So it's been a while since this has been in my craft room. And I have, like, I use it a lot. Like I said, ever since getting it, it's 90% the machine that I use. And the only time I really use anything else, which would be my Gemini large platform machine, is when I need to actually die cut a die that can't pass through this. But most dies can actually fit through this. So that's why I really love it for the size. Now, over time, because like I mentioned, this magnetic mat has flattened, I've had to add a cardstock shim. So by default, I'm always passing it through with a cardstock shim. But you can see, why that would be. This is like stretched out a little bit, so it's a little thinner. And, that's going to happen with time, with any of your machines, whether internally the rollers have shifted or otherwise, something might be changing just with time and use, that you might have to add a cardstock shim or two. No problem. It's not a big deal. Now, the Empress, it does have a larger version. So I only have the mini, but if you want, you can get the Elite machine. And so here it is. We're on the Anna Griffin website. And I told you the plate size for the mini. It's 4.5 by 7.5. The Elite is 8.625 by 13.5. So that's this one here. And both of them are electronic, so kind of similar to the Geminis. The Anna Griffin line of machines, it's mostly centered on electronic die cutting machines. So if you do a lot of die cutting, I think electronic is the way to go if you can afford it. But you can see I kind of mentioned this earlier, and here you can find long plates for your mini. So this is the complete plate combination for your mini. Oh, I guess the other thing is it does have a metal shim, which I could be using instead of my cardstock shim. Maybe I'll start throwing that into my plate combination. So you can get 13-inch long, and so if you do like to use your slim lines, that's an option. And I think you can get the long plates. I could be wrong. You might, I don't know if you can get the long plate for the Elite as well, but let's see. Here's the large one, small plates. So you can get the plates to replace individually, just the cutting plates. Here's the mini magnet mat if I wanted to replace mine, which it's a strong magnet, by the way. I really like it. It's good to know that I can replace it, but at the moment I don't feel like I need to. I'm perfectly happy to just shim it. But yeah, you can get the 13. But I think the reason why they're selling it as a single now, because when I bought mine, I don't think it was available for purchase, just the magnetic mat. But I think these days, because most people are cutting into their magnetic mat, they are offering that as a replacement piece, as a consumable piece, because in the past, you would have the clear plates. Since that's what you're cutting into, those would be what you would use, what you would have to replace more commonly. So I don't see if the Elite has long plates, but I do know the mini does. So you can, if you do a lot of slimline cards, then you might be able to, you might be interested to pick up the set of long plates, but you would need the full set, because there's the whole stack that's available here. So that is our Empress line of die cutting machines. They have a large one and they have this mini one, and I just love the mini one because it's a nice size. It says mini, but like I said, I feel like it's in a class of its own, and I would have to say, just in terms of what I use, the type of crafter I am, and what gets used most in my craft room is that Empress Mini, because of its size. It can basically handle most all of my die cutting needs. And besides that, my second go-to is the Gemini electronic die cutting machine. So these, I'll leave these two on screen because these are my go-tos. So in my craft room, when I'm die cutting, I use one of these two. 90% probably the Anna Griffin Empress Mini. So I think that really all of the machines that I've used are great. They die cut well. They hold up over time. I can't say that for 100% certain with this one, only because I haven't used it for long enough. I actually would rather send this out to somebody else than to like use it for another 6 months or a year. And so longevity wise, how that holds up and how the plates, hold up, I can't tell you for 100% certain. But all of the other machines that I brought on, I've used a lot, and I don't think you can necessarily go wrong with any of them. What I would take into consideration if you're in the market for a machine, though, is how much die cutting are you planning to do? And how is your body feeling? Because your first decision, I feel like, will be whether or not you want to get an electronic machine or a manual machine. And I think to make that decision, think about how much die cutting you do, and think about, your body at the moment. Are you feeling like you're already having some aches and pains? We all age. We're all getting there or already there. So that's not a judgment. It's just, take a good reflection on that, because this is going to have some impact, especially if you're die cutting a lot. If you're not die cutting that often, then maybe it doesn't matter so much, and an electronic machine is going to be overkill for you because they are more expensive. So I would, if I were approaching this purchasing decision, I would take those two things into consideration first. How much do I enjoy die cutting and seeing all of those dies? Do I think I might like using them? So that is one factor. And then how's my body feeling? Do I have a lot of aches and pains in my arms and wrists and elbows and shoulders? And if you think you're going to do a lot, it's going to have a lot of impact on your body. And so an electronic machine might make sense. And this one, I brought all of the ones on screen, so hopefully you got a sense for the pricing of these at the moment that I'm recording. And so you can kind of see a comparison of all of the various ones. But I feel like if I had started here with the Mini Empress, I wouldn't have any other machine, to be honest, other than maybe a large platform, maybe the Platinum manual machine, because I infrequently use a large machine. I might not have gotten the large Gemini Platinum or Gemini machine. So that's kind of why if I were to make a decision now and I did not have any machine at all, just from my experience and my journey of, getting machines. And, I started so long ago that a lot of these machines were not on the market. So I'm not saying I regret any of my purchases because they all work just fine. But it's funny because, this is actually, I'm just realizing it's funny. I've kind of come full circle because my very first like 6-inch machine was the Cuttlebug, but the Anna Griffin Cuttlebug with this coloring. That's so funny. That's such a throwback. So I've come full circle. I'm back with Anna Griffin now. And but now with her Empress Mini. And so so if your budget can stretch, if you think you're going to do a lot of it, then go with that. The next consideration that I would think about is, what brand dyes do you tend to use? Because all of the machines I think are going to work with all of the other brands. They just are. Because they're not enough different in terms of, the actual dyes and whatnot. Each brand might be a little bit different, but it's not going to be so different that it's going to be completely incompatible. The exception might be the Gemini machines because they don't operate on, that standard sort of size platform. So those might be a little bit different, but you're going to be able to find some plate combination to make it work. However, if you know that you mainly like to shop Sizzix or you mainly like to shop Spellbinders, you might want to consider using their machine, strictly because obviously their machine is going to be the most compatible with their products because that's where they're doing all of their testing. So if you want something that's a little bit less frustrating in order to like figure out plate combinations and pressure and all of that business, then it might make sense to support the brand that whose dyes that you use the most. But if you're like most crafters, you probably buy from a different variety of brands and you might get your dyes from a different variety of brands. So then I would look into price point. Obviously is going to be a big factor, whatever your budget is. That might actually drive which brand die cutting machine that you get. And the reason why I wanted to bring up all of the websites so that you can see the pricing, at least at the time that I'm recording this, you can get a sense for what the wide range of pricing that you can find out there, sometimes even for what appears to be the same machine. So that's just to say that there's a lot on the market. It's hard to know exactly what the right thing is for you, but just know that there are some machines out there that appear to be the same from different brands, and they might be sold at a pretty different price point. So that's something to keep in mind. And then the size of the machine. So most of the time, mini machines are going to be your most economical bet. But I will say one thing, with the exception of the Empress Mini, which I think is like a misnomer. I honestly would just call this the Empress. So, I don't know Anna Griffin, but Anna, if you're watching, I think you should name this the Empress, and then you have your large machine, which is the Empress Elite, because this is not a mini machine. If you saw the plate combinations when I had them all side by side, most of the other plates are the biggest, widest was 3.5 inches, the Scout. This is, and this will fit fully a 4.25 inch, A2 card base. So it's really, I know it's mini size compared to the Elite, but I feel, kind of in a different class. I keep saying that. You can tell I'm a big fan. I bought this machine myself. I'm not affiliated with Anna Griffin. I just really love this machine. But I would, if budget is a concern or your dominating factor, then look at mini machines, because they are often a really good entry price point wise to having a die cutting machine. That said, if you know that you're going to be doing a lot of die cutting, and you enjoy, different types of dies, like especially if you think that you might enjoy memory keeping mini album dies, most of those will not fit through a 3-inch opening. And so if you're going to do things like mini albums, boxes, bags, etc., you're most likely going to need at least a 6-inch wide opening machine. And so that being the case, then you actually might want to save a little bit, and instead of getting a mini die cutting machine to start and then finding that you need to upgrade to a larger size, you might want to just save, try to double your budget over time, and just get a 6-inch machine, because 6-inch machines will definitely cover your bases for probably 95% of the dies out there. I'm just taking a guess, folks. And so, if you think about just the size difference in plates, this is like a Gemini. This is the difference between like a mini, like, a pretty middle of the road mini die cutting machine plate, and then a pretty standard 6-inch. So you can see the size difference that is, available to you for die cutting and whatnot. And so it's going to give you a broader range of dies that you can use, and it's maybe 2 times the cost. If mini die cutting machines were always in the neighborhood of $20-$25, then I would probably say just to get you started, just get a mini. It's $20, $25, which at the moment this one is. So if you want a new one of these, at the moment that I'm recording this, hopefully by the time I get it up on my YouTube channel, it'll still be going. But $25, I feel, is a very, very low barrier to entry for die cutting. And if that's price is still available, I would just get this to get yourself started. And I feel like even if you outgrow this and then you later want to get a 6-inch machine, maybe you'll outgrow it to where you can decide for sure if you want to stay manual or get an electronic machine that's 6 inches. So, this is always nice to have as a backup, as something that's really quick to maybe die cut something small from. So, at that price point, I kind of feel like it's really great and worth it. But at some of the other prices, when you're talking $60-$70 for a mini machine, I would really think twice about starting there, and instead maybe consider, if you're going to be doing using larger dies, like a lot of the large card shaped card die sets and things like that, they often are larger than what will pass through this. So if you like to make shaped cards, those are mostly going to be like at least 4 1/4, because they're meant to be about A2 size or larger. And so those are the sorts of considerations that you might want to think about when you're thinking about the size and the budget that you have for your die cutting machine needs. So I hope that helps you if you are in the market for a die cutting machine. And again, I'm going to leave the giveaway entry for this, for winning this used machine, in the description box below. So pop on over there if you'd like to have a chance to win this. US continental residents only, please, just because it's going to cost me a lot to ship. And at the price that it is now, I would not be surprised if it actually cost me almost that much just to send it. So, so please, only enter if you don't already have a machine, you don't have the budget to buy a machine, you want to try this hobby out and you don't know for sure if you're gonna like it or not. I want this to go to you. I want this machine to get used because it's a good machine. It deckheads really well. I enjoyed using it, and CraftStash sent it to me to do a product review, and I'd like to pay that forward and send that to somebody else who will actually use it. I don't want it to kind of sit around as a backup, waiting to have its day on somebody's craft table. So please only enter if you're actually going to use it. And if you enter, I find this happens a lot. If you enter, please check back on my YouTube channel. I'm gonna post the winner to my YouTube profile. So when you go to my YouTube profile page, there's going to be a tab that says post, and that's where you'll find I share all of like the clearance, the sales, etc. that I come across. I share them there first, and I post winners to all of the giveaways that I run myself here on YouTube. And so check to see if you are a winner by visiting my YouTube profile after the giveaway ends. So I'll have the date for the for when this actually giveaway will close. So check back, a day or two later to see if you won, because you need to actually claim your prize and give me your address and all of that good stuff so that I can actually send this out to you. So if you don't claim your prize, then I'm gonna have to pick a new winner. So be sure, if you are entering, just mark on your calendar or wherever you like to give yourself reminders. Be sure to come back to my profile and actually check the posts, my community posts to YouTube, and see if you won. I say that only to say that, I'm not requiring that you subscribe to my channel or hit the notification bell and all of that stuff. I would love if you did, but you don't have to. I can't make you do that. But if you did, you would get notifications and reminders. But I know sometimes YouTube isn't even all that great at consistently sending out notifications and alerts. So the best thing to do is just to come back to my profile, check the community posts tab, and see after the giveaway closes, and see if you won so that you can claim it. And I always give 48 hours to claim. So you need to be there and claim it, and within that window. Otherwise, I'm just gonna pick somebody else, and for this, I will pick new winners until somebody claims it. So do check back. Okay, so that's it for me. Let me know in the comments what machines you like, what your experience has been using these machines, and maybe that will help others who are watching, especially if you use any of the Sizzix machines, because I don't have any of them. So if you have experience that you would love to share, that might help other viewers who happen to be watching this video. And I love that we can all kind of share our opinions and help each other, because there is a lot out there, and sometimes it's hard to know, what the right tools and machines and stuff would be for you. So I'm just one opinion. I hope you're sourcing other opinions when you're making your purchasing decisions as well. And I know from my previous videos, I always love reading the comments and seeing other people's takes and your experience too. So thank you for that. Until next time, folks, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.